Okay, welcome to Qualify the podcast. I'm your host, Hassan. A few housekeeping rules that we have. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please listen and download on Stitcher and Spotify. We are growing as a community. With me today, I have world traveler and photographer, Linda Sebihi. Linda, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Doing well. The reason why we decided to connect on this episode was because we have a lot in common. Linda has traveled the world. Currently, I believe you are still traveling, although you're settling in right now. She is currently overseas, so we may have a bit of a delay in the sound. Just an introduction about her. She is French Algerian, has been traveling since her touching down in Singapore in 2012. For those who may know, I touched down in Singapore in 2011. We should probably talk about our explorations in Singapore and where else in Asia, and also the love of making an impact as we travel and documenting those with photography. So for that, how many countries have you actually been to?
To be honest with you, I kind of stopped keeping track because it kind of reminded me of how many countries I had left. And it's kind of exciting and overwhelming, so I kind of, and to be fair, I'd say about 50. What about you?
Not that many. I'm maybe a little over 20 countries.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you say 50 or 60?
50.
50. The benefit that I've always realized in terms of, European travel is that once I finally got to Europe, I realized how easy it was to travel almost everywhere else, right? And probably because of EasyJet and Ryanair. Like, these are the two reasons why.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's very expensive by comparison when you're starting in America. Like, most flights are 400 US easily,
Wow.
versus 50 euros just to get and go somewhere else. You are currently in Portugal. You're not in Lisboa, or where are you?
No, I'm in central Portugal. I'm in the countryside.
The pictures are beautiful online. So I bounce between the Instagram post as well as your actual website. And your website has amazing portraits. So I want to talk about those in a moment. But for the sake of traveling, since you're living in Portugal, how many countries have you actually lived in?
I mean, it depends what you mean by living.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, I did settle longer in some places for different reasons. Does it mean that I lived there more than I lived in some other places where I stayed shorter? I don't think so. So I'd say everywhere and nowhere at the same time, because every time I had this urge within me to keep going instead of this desire to stay. All and none.
All in none. Yeah, I used to joke about that when they asked me where I'm from. I said, well, I'm from Texas, but I'm really everywhere. Like,
Yeah.
what would you consider living somewhere? Is it where you get your mail, or do you stay for a month? What does that mean to you?
I don't know, where I feel like there is nothing challenging anymore. Like, that's when I feel like, okay, well, I lived here, I can go.
That's actually really interesting to say. That's a beautiful statement. I like it. So you've gotten from what that countryside could give you, and then from there you feel, okay, it's time to move on.
Yeah, exactly. The first trip that I really done was by myself with my best friend at the time, was when I was 16, actually. I left with her. So for a first experience, India was something. I don't know how my parents accepted that. I think I was pretty convincing. So it started there, basically, when it really opened my eyes. Then I decided to study languages, because for me it was the only way to learning Chinese for 3 years. And I went to China myself as well, to Beijing. and I went to university there. And from there, well, I was thinking that languages are great, but they don't give you a job, unfortunately.
They don't.
I mean, I went for business school. And from there, I went to Singapore.
So business school, I mean, traveling in general for yourself, but business school brought you to Singapore.
Yes.
Very similar. So in my career, we went to Singapore because there was no company stamp in the Asian marketplace. So they sent me there. I was doing business there, establishing an office space with a colleague. We stayed for about a month. And then from there, we decided to transition to Hong Kong. So I think it was a better business decision because, as you know, Singapore is incredibly expensive.
It is indeed.
Yeah, so we went to Hong Kong and saved maybe an eighth of a dollar. In Singapore, how long did you stay?
I stayed 6 months.
What was your favorite part about Singapore?
It was amazing. Let's face it, in Singapore, the food is, you have nothing to say about the food. But also it was practical because you could go anywhere in Asia from there for very cheap. Anytime, by bus, by flight, by boat. So that was one of the greatest reasons to be in Singapore. But I was at school, so
sure.
That's why, and I probably never went back.
Sure. I always thought Singapore was incredibly clean. I mean, incredibly clean.
And have to take the MTR. MTR is very slow.
I didn't do it in Singapore. They pampered me. I'm not going to lie. They gave me a lot of amenities, and I appreciate that. It became very regulated in Hong Kong. I had to do everything normal in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Yeah, I lived in Hong Kong, truly. So,
okay.
So for the sake of your traveling outside of staying in South Asia, maybe, where else did you go?
Well, right after Singapore, I went to Hong Kong, just like you, where I stayed. Well, how long did I stay? And then from there, I went to Australia because I had an internship.
Okay.
So I did my internship, and after that, I was thinking, because I did an internship in a travel for a travel company, but then I didn't really like the aspect of it behind. So I saved some money and I just went traveling right after. Sure. From there, I went to, where did I go? I started in Myanmar. From Myanmar, I went to Thailand, Cambodia. Then I went to Nepal. I stayed 3 months in Nepal. And then after Nepal, where I had to work again.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went back to Hong Kong right after New Zealand, actually.
Wow. So
3 more months.
So you went from very expensive Singapore to very expensive New Zealand, but anywhere in between was relatively cheap.
Yes.
That's very smart. That's very smart. But it seems like your travel model was that you were going to travel until you ran out of money, and then this is where you stay so you can work.
Yeah, and travel at the same time because it's always in a new country. So
sure.
Yeah, Pacific.
Sure.
Area.
Pacific area. It's very nice. I did Thailand. I did Indonesia very briefly in Indonesia. But Thailand, I stayed for a few weeks between Phuket and in the village of Rawai. But that was, I was doing a lot of activities back then. So where else? Oh, yeah, and then mainland China, of course. So we can't, as Americans, we can't go to Myanmar. So it's almost out of the question.
Still today?
Still today.
All right.
There's a sanction on that. I'm working on a way around it, but there's a sanction on it.
All right. Well, we learn every day.
Yeah. Have you done the Orient Express? I know that sounds touristy, but the train ride from Singapore all the way through.
No, I haven't. But I actually I spent about 7 years in Asia Pacific, basically, and no, I never did that. I never experienced I believe very famous routes.
Sure.
I just made my own route.
I can really appreciate that. So what your approach is about the same approach that I did when I took sabbatical for Europe, but for Asia, because I always kind of had to be back in the office in like 3 or 4 days, I couldn't get too lost, you know, and I really wanted to. So I was limited, although it was, 3 months at a time that I was there. Outside of Asia, your European travels, where have you gone in Europe? Look, I know you've been to a lot of places, so let's just do your favorite places in Europe.
My favorite place, to be honest with you, I've been in more places in Asia and Africa than I've been in Europe.
Okay.
So I can tell you where I've been.
Gotcha.
Bulgaria, really amazing. It's a very free country. You can camp anywhere, and for as long as you want. There are people settling by the beach. It's beautiful, and it's free, and it's just amazing. Then where else did I go? You're here, Portugal. Now, Portugal is fabulous. I love Portugal.
I just saw the look on your face. I said, well, you've probably sold me on it. I didn't do a lot of Eastern travel through Europe. But so my route that I wanted to do, when I take holiday, I try to plan it out as far as how many places can I hit and then make my way back to Central, right? So I would always start in London because my brother and sister are there. So visit them first, then bounce. So the last time was London, Germany, Spain. Then I went to Morocco. Then I went back up to London and then went back home. And that was a bit of a purposeful travel. However, bouncing from city to city, I'm starting to think that I enjoy being in a city more now than being in the countryside. And I don't know why, but I'm just, yeah, I don't know. Because I like beaches and I love beaches and I like mountains. I like hiking. But I do believe that I enjoy the social element of the city, just
All right.
the noise maybe.
Okay. Well,
So,
I understand. I understand. I'm not like this, but I understand.
So you're more of the mountain peace and quiet.
Yeah, much more like this. I avoid cities. I go to cities when I have no choice, like visas or like I have to buy a tent and I can't buy a tent in the village. So I have to go to a city to find a tent, this kind of reasons.
Wow.
But usually I avoid, or when you need to take a plane, you can't take a plane from a village. So
Sure, yeah. Have you been on very, very small planes before? Like propeller aircraft just flying from one place to the next?
Small planes, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, amazing. So unstable, I love it.
Yeah, very unstable. I learned how to fly these things when I was maybe 17 years old.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah, we did this in school. I don't even know how that program existed. However, we're in.
I was thinking, what school?
It's not that amazing, but it was an amazing opportunity.
I did it once.
You flew once? I'll tell you, you either love it or you hate it. One of the two.
Well, it's a mix of both, I believe.
Mix of both. Yeah.
But maybe 51%, 49. So I never did it again.
Yeah. With traveling, do you collect keepsakes or souvenirs as you go?
Well, it depends, because, and as you know, in the village they don't sell much things,
No.
which is good because it keeps my bag very light. But but I love colors and I love handmade creations, and when I see some creations, sometimes I can't say no. I have to have it.
I agree. I think that a souvenir or some token as you go, it's not necessarily something you have to get from the store. It's of course, being in the city, there's going to be souvenir shops everywhere. But I try to keep something from everywhere I go. Mainly just because it's something to talk about later. And I learned that from my father. I had so many things of his, and like, where did all this come from? Like, this is from Pakistan, this is from India, this is from, everywhere. So, and they were mostly sculptures and statues and masks, you know.
Wow.
But he also collected dollars and coins. He had coins from everywhere he went. And so I said, well, gee, I want to do this one day. And so I did. So generally, I try to keep very small items, some souvenir currency, coins, maybe some trinket from the gift shop, but not over the top, very touristy things. But again, as being in the city, I had more access to it. Just to summarize your experience for traveling for 9 years, you just essentially became addicted to the travel and decided that this is what you want to do for the rest of your time right now?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I don't see something else. So if I don't see something else, there's nothing else to see, I guess.
Tell me about your art. You could have drawn and drawn sketches wherever you went, but I'm assuming photography was the easier way for you to document your travels. Are you really strictly trying to show and exhibit your work, or do you just happen to accept the invitation?
Well, I try actually to exhibit my work, because I mean, I think people, I don't know, I think people should, there are too many people that are sometimes scared to go somewhere. They just a feeling that they have, and I don't know, I feel that because I see those beautiful things, I feel that I need to share them. And to share them today, you have to be active. Things will not come knocking at your door. I've been active before. I haven't been active really this year because of COVID, and I'm on a different project right now, building a ruin. So my art at the moment is in parentheses.
Sure.
Not for long, huh?
Not for long.
Not for long. The ruin is becoming a proper house. So COVID led me to take the decision, basically, to come here and do that, because it's a great challenge, and I believe that I could do people doing it, so we can do it. So we're doing it, and we did it pretty well so far. And it's more like, because everywhere I went, I am very lucky about that. Everywhere I went, people invited me to their home, and I had no home to invite them to. Oh. Now I do.
Okay.
So I really want them to see this home as theirs, as they made me feel like this in their place.
That's beautiful. That is. It really is. So there's similar things that we share. This is one of them, but not necessarily the fact that, as I went traveling, I wasn't very nomadic. However, with the people that you meet along the way, you spend enough time there, they open their lives up to you. And that was very particular in Hong Kong, because, I'm an expatriate, and also at sight, I'm considered African. Once you speak with me, okay, well, he's American, right? And at the first entry of Hong Kong, there was very little Africans there. So the second time I went, I don't know where everyone came from. Like it was a lot. But the culture of being an expatriate and everyone else being a foreigner, they all were friends. So, British, French, Congolese, everyone was there. And then there's just little old me, and I'm with that group. And they took care of me. There's no other way to say it. When I was in Hong Kong, there was a South African nightclub called Macumba. We went there a lot. You went?
No, I haven't been. Okay. I work at night there, so I was busy.
I was busy.
I've heard of it for sure. Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, Lau Kwai Fong, Hong Kong. Yeah.
Lau Kwai Fong.
Let's talk about your artwork, though.
Okay.
Just as a focus, because again, similarly, I've been in juried art shows, exhibits, nationwide. I've been published as well. But have you done any book publishings?
Well, I'm actually, that was my 2021 project. Instead, I'm in Portugal. Life happens. Um, yes, my idea was to go to Algeria and document the Shawiya tribe, which is a Berber tribe, which is basically the tribe I'm from.
Okay.
I would love to do a book about, the people, my ancestors, basically, and their traditions and the meaning of these tattoos. And there are a lot of animist rituals also that I lived when I was a child, and I would love to be able to document that. And because all my family is part of this tribe and they speak, I speak Arabic, but Berber is another language. I speak it because religion is taking over and all these traditions are disappearing right now. And I feel that my grandmother's generation and aunt's generation is the last one to do that again. So yes, I will do a book.
You have to tell me when you do this so that I can buy this.
Oh, I'll send it to you as a free gift, my friend.
Yours sounds much more interesting than what I was working on.
Comparing doesn't never help.
No, it doesn't. It is poison. I do find it more interesting reading from others' work than perhaps thinking about my own. It's just, I'm just interested in people. And I think that's the reason why I enjoy the city more perhaps than the mountainside, because there's just more people there. And so I can watch them or I can talk to them, and have that engagement. But,
well, I don't know, I feel I have this engagement in the countryside.
you do?
But yeah, definitely. But kind of more, I feel it pure.
Sure.
And I don't know. Everywhere in the countryside, I socialize.
A buddy of mine named Trent, he is a photographer, and he's a city photographer, and he takes the most fantastic portraits. I'll send you his website. You may like them.
Yes.
Have you sold your work at these expos and festivals?
No, it was never of the goal.
So just to show them was the goal?
Yeah. It's always the goal.
It's the goal. So then you can answer this question for me. We do art for merit, or for the acceptance of the work, for someone to appreciate that. And if they pay us, then that's okay. However, it's more important that we have it shown and we express ourselves. Do you agree with that?
That it's better to show it than to be paid for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it feels weird because that's not the reason. I wouldn't be able to do something if someone asked me to do something and to pay me for it.
Okay. Commission versus someone buying your work. And you are telling me the same thing that I used to feel. You really are. I'm not just saying this because we're interviewing. Yeah, the exchange is good. But I couldn't make myself take photos the way my friends do. My friends are commercial photographers, wedding photographers, events. I can't do that. I never, it didn't work for me.
The only time, even a friend asked me one time to take photos for his wedding, I didn't do as good because it was a request. Deep inside, the goal is wrong. If I went there and I had my camera, I would have done photos anyways.
Sure.
But because I've been asked,
yeah,
it made it it added this pressure.
Yeah.
That made me fail.
I get it.
I handle the pressure very well.
When you travel and how you travel and where you decide to go, I find that impactful. So the way you described why you were building this home, very poetic. I think that's beautiful. What's the longest that you've stayed somewhere?
A year.
A year.
Mm-hmm.
And where was that?
Well, several places. I stayed a year in Japan. I stayed a year in Timor-Leste. I stayed in New Zealand. I think that's it.
Where Timor-Leste is an island?
Is half an island.
Half an island.
Half an island. Timor-Leste is a country, and the other side is Indonesia.
Were you working there?
I wasn't.
What's the currency exchange like?
In Timor-Leste, it's the US dollar.
My story about Africa was that I chose to go to Morocco because I was in Spain and my sister was born in Seville. So I'm in Seville. I then take not a taxi, but more like a van down to Tarifa. And then from Tarifa, I took the boat over to Morocco and passed through the Strait of Gibraltar. That's more or less, that's one of the few boats that I've done in that area. But I thought it was beautiful. The reason why I essentially decided to go is because that's my namesake. So I was named after King Hassan II. So I decided to go there and let me feel, what this is all about. It was the most enlightening country I've ever been in. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I would hear my name everywhere I went, because everyone.
Hassan.
Yeah. That was beautiful. I think I had an epiphany out there. It was perfect. And the tea, oh my God, and the coffee. So that was
the Berber tea.
The Berber tea, yeah. That was amazing. I wish that I could have stayed longer, but my goals, and so now I would want you to tell me that I should choose some other countries maybe. But my goals were that I wanted to do Morocco, did that. But I also want to go to Egypt, South Africa. I haven't really thought of many more places. I almost worked in Tanzania, in Mwanza. So I would have done Tanzania and Uganda anyway, but I didn't do that yet. So, but where else should I go?
Where else should you go?
Yeah.
I want to go everywhere, so I'd say anywhere. I've been in total to 11 countries in Africa, including Algeria, obviously, where I'm from, where basically no one goes, which sucks because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's 5 times the size of France. Can you imagine how much it has to offer?
That's true. That's true.
The mountain, it's beautiful. Tunisia, which was pretty fun, which was family trip. Then Morocco.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Senegal. If you want good-hearted people all day long, every second of your day, you go to Senegal. It's very relaxing. You're invited everywhere, every minute. Every minute, you just go, hey, come. So, and the music, everything was fabulous. The food was great. But then I had this little, I fell in love with Uganda.
Okay.
Fell in love with Uganda. It's just so lively, so real, and so, I don't know, I felt really free there, and every people, I don't know. I stayed in an island in the middle of nowhere. It was a river island. It was just incredible. You're just there, surrounded by just nature.
Yeah.
And you're out of this hustle. And then the next day you go back to the city, and then you sleep right next to a nightclub. Welcome back to reality.
Sure, yeah, right.
But it was great. I loved it. So Uganda should be next for you.
Okay. For a more natural feeling, you really have me thinking about Senegal. As soon as I saw the wrestling, the photo of the Senegalese wrestlers, I might have to do this. Not to go wrestle, just to go see.
You could.
Maybe.
They welcome everyone.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's like Thailand and Muay Thai.
I wasn't dressed properly for the occasion, though.
Did you?
I would have done it next time. I'll dress.
Just in case you get invited.
And it's wide open. It's on the beach.
Mm.
Beautiful.
Okay. As I try to make my layovers longer, when I'm traveling for business, I essentially do like to stay, longer in the place that we stop. But so going to Singapore, I actually was in Russia, and the weather was horrible. So I didn't get a chance to do what I wanted to do the first time. But coming back, I did the same extended layover. I was going to be there for 36 hours, and the visa regulations changed. So I didn't know that. And so they detained me for quite some time, a long time. That was not fun.
I haven't been to Russia, but
Okay.
I've been detained also once.
Yay, I wish I could high five
In
you.
China. In China.
Why did they detain you?
I went to that restaurant with two of my friends, and I just withdrew cash from the ATM. They check the bills. So I paid basically, and they gave me back only fake bills.
Oh my God.
So when I went to the next place, I wanted to visit the place, Thousand Buddha Temples, very beautiful. They checked my note. It was fake. And I was like, what? So I went back to the restaurant, to ask.
Yeah.
And when I arrived right away, she ran to the cashier and closed the cashier, with the key. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
it's gonna take a while. It went wild, I think, yes. So they started pinching my friends. And then this huge guy just came to me telling me, you know who I am? And I was like, no. And then he shot me on the leg. And I had a white skirt, so you could see the print of the shoe on my leg, on my skirt. Then the police came, and because these guys had, some money there, the police refused to listen to us. Mm-hmm. And basically they said, you come with us. And I was like, no, if they come.
Right.
So they took all of us. So we went all together. After a few hours there, I called my mom, because I wanted the number of the embassy.
Yeah.
And she got pretty stressed, like, can't you just for once say nothing? So I said, just find the number and call me back on that number. And then I hung up, and they the French embassy. And they start to freak out. And everything starts settling down. Like, what do you want? I said, I just want my real money.
Yeah.
And apologies for this guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologies for that guy.
Yes. And I had both.
Good. This is not how this went in Russia for me.
Oh man, tell me.
I'm in Domodedovo Airport. So in Moscow, there's 3 airports. So I went to the central for landing, got the transit visa changed over to the temporary visa. No problem. I mean, I do this coordination for a living with other people, so I knew what to do. And that was 2011. So I stay there waiting for the weather to get better, because it was just snowing sideways. I mean, it's just, it was coming out of nowhere. And I left Houston, America, Texas, where it was pretty hot. So I'm not dressed for this, but I was trying to get some clothes, maybe just a nice jacket and a hat, and I can, to do what I need to do. But the weather was so bad that I couldn't go. And I reserved a driver to take me around the city. That was my plan. Did not work. So I stayed at the airport for the most part, went to the hotel, of course, and then I left. So I'm in Hong Kong and in Greater Asia until the turn of the year. I mean, I'm there until spring. I come back, try to do the same thing, go downstairs to the visa office, exchange temporary or transit visa for temporary. Did not work. But as soon as they saw my passport, it's American, but I have no bags. So they look at me, look at my passport, and they say, Hassan, with proper, pronunciation. And then I said, oh no. So they don't talk like that. But as soon as that happened, I said, okay, I think we're going to have a problem. And then they took me from the line, they said, come with us, took me into the room. They pulled all of my bags off of the one plane that I was on. But I was shipping most gifts and all of my large bags back home already. So they weren't with me. Why have you been in Asia? What are you doing here? What do you want? I only wanted to go see the Kremlin. I only wanted to do that. And perhaps go get a nesting doll, the doll that I just wanted that little stupid doll. So we were arguing for about 3 hours in detainment. And then they escorted me out to central Moscow. So I left the airport because I was there for a day, really. So it was troublesome. I did call my mother. I did, but only to let her know. Yeah, it wasn't. I called my job first and I said, hey, call the lawyer and, let's figure this out because they don't believe me. But then I called her and said, hey, by the way, I'm probably going to Russian jail. So,
no stress.
don't stress out. But they eventually let me go. And because there's nothing there. They were doing vapor swabs, on my hands and my feet, bomb trace, and I'm in shorts. I'm in shorts and a t-shirt because I just came from Singapore. What do you think I have? So, but it's the name. It's the name.
So that's the beautiful world in which we live in. Also, there is this part where this darkness, that darkness.
It is. It is.
I just don't understand. So,
I could keep you all day, but respectfully, I know that I'm going to have to let you go. I really appreciate this conversation. So,
likewise, really nice.
So can you please let the viewers know where to find you?
Well, on my website, lindasebihi.com, and on Instagram, malay.trip. Malay means foreigner, basically, in Timor-Leste, in Tetun. Okay. So that's me.
The beautiful Linda Sebihi. Please go look at her artwork. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have too. Please remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube site, as well as the website viewable for download. Find me on Spotify, on Stitcher. This has been Qualified the Podcast. This is the travel edition. We're going to do more episodes like this soon.